Okay. Well, we open up. Welcome back, Alit. Episode 3. We talked a little bit about background vision. Where are we going? Where are we in the stage of Notco? What happened in the past? And this episode is a little bit more about understand how Notco is utilizing Gen AI in this world of Gen AI and people talking and founders utilizing Gen AI to do like cool stuff, but not necessarily practical stuff or valuable stuff in my mind. No, what is your perspective? How is Notco using Gen AI? How do you see Gen AI going forward? Maybe in the food industry, but maybe other industries as well. So yeah,
Sure.
let's entertain that concept.
I love talking about Gen AI.
Oh, and by the way, this is a podcast to show how an AI first company works. I think this is the idea of the
The
podcast.
podcast is you accidentally created a successul AI first company.
Something like that. No, it's not. That's not only talking about us, but talking more about what's coming. So
Okay.
tell us a little bit more about
Yeah,
Gen
and
AI.
I think for this episode we should have a counter on the bottom about every time we say Gen AI.
Oh shit!
I've been to so many conferences where everyone just says Gen AI like 45,000 times in a presentation, and it's like, what are you really saying?
Yeah.
So I think this one, the goal will be to not say Gen AI and talk
Okay.
about real practical solutions.
Can we have can we hedge on 10 times only?
I don't know.
Okay, let's try it.
Let's try it. Yeah,
let's try
someone keep us
Okay,
accountable.
got it.
So the question is, how do we use generative AI? Is that already one? How do we use Gen AI in Notco? And it's a long story, but I'll try to keep it short. We came in 5 years ago, pre-LLMs, pre-ChatGPT, thinking that generative AI would be a great solution to the problems that we talked about in the prior episodes, which is how do you formulate better things in the food system that people actually want to buy and consume, and then how do you create value across the supply chain, with these formulations and products. I think a lot of people think generative AI in food is just about creating recipes, and that is entirely wrong. ChatGPT, you can create a recipe with ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It's not about recipe creation. So generative AI, we're already blown past this.
2 or 3. Okay.
is there's different ways to use it, and we're using it many different ways. Our most recent one is doing concept generation. And in here, what we're doing is we're trying to look at white spaces from consumers. And I remember we were talking to executives at a big CPG, and they said, hey, every time we launch a product, we want to figure out what are the pain points, what are these latent pain points that people have, and then generate ideas and products based on those. So we have a whole system now called Concept Quant that is able to intake and understand using LLMs what are these hidden pain points that different consumer segments have, and create tailor-made ideas and products for those segments. The second part is formulation. That's where we started. We have generative AI systems for formulation. And it's not just about creating, a one-shot formula. It's about how do people like chefs, scientists, product developers interactively use these sort of co-pilot systems to help them create better. And our vision at Notco, being mission-oriented, is that if you can give this sort of intelligence to your formulationist at the point of formulation, where they have 1,000 decisions to make, but if you can really simplify, these are the most sustainable ingredients you should use in a product that are also shelf stable, and they cost less than whatever ingredients you have. You start solving a problem much more proactively than trying to look at every single decision with 100 different lenses. So generative AI for formulation is not just about creating something, one shot a recipe, and then you launch it. It's about how do you have people get intelligence to make better decisions at the point of formulations, and we'll talk about that later as well.
And the question is why Gen AI? What is Gen AI giving you that maybe other systems, other types of AI, other types of methodologies cannot give you?
Yeah, so it's really about providing spaces of solutions. And when you think about generative AI, essentially, you can now generate in this world of LLMs an idea in a microsecond. You can generate an image, a video, a text.
Yeah.
in microseconds now, right? With the scale of how we're doing compute. And even with concepts, we're talking about concept generator. How do we can generate thousands, if not millions, if not infinite amount of different concepts for different segments, for different user groups. The question now becomes in AI is, if you can generate so many things so quickly, how do you discern what to actually do? How do you take an action based on a generation? So what generative AI is giving you is, here are a bunch of ideas, right?
Yeah.
Some are real, some are hallucinations.
The list of things I would expect me to do is correct your English. But okay, let's go.
Sorry, I get excited.
Okay.
We know generative AI hallucinates.
Yeah.
So how do you make a discernment of, I should do this or I should not do this?
Yeah.
So that's the next phase of question with AI. So I mean, to summarize it, it's, I have a problem. The generative systems, whether it's in the formulation space, whether it's in the idea creation phase, can give you an infinite amount of solutions these days.
Yeah.
The question becomes, how do you now distill that to actually say, hey, I'm going to de-risk this idea or this product and actually make it actionable.
Yeah.
I'm going to assign a team to go build this out and do it. And I think that becomes especially hard for us at Notco, because we're creating physical products using generative AI. We're not just creating a text or a video or an essay that you turn in. It's a product that takes people and time and resources from the company to make that decision.
And so if there's a company that doesn't utilize a Gen AI to create an innovation from scratch, whether that's deciding there's a white space all the way to executing the product in the point of sales, and for that product to be successful. How does a big CPG today does that versus how do we help or could help other companies do it?
Yeah, so every company, very different, but it usually starts with old school stuff. And we learned a lot from our own marketing agencies. Hey, we're doing focus groups, we're talking to consumers, we're trying to understand trends. And these things they don't get to the fundamentals of why you should create a product, what the value proposition of the product is. And I think as we're evolving the company and putting this generative AI system, counter number 6 already, at the core is, how do you create sustainable products that have a better value proposition that's more than just sustainability? That's a hard problem to solve. So can an upstream concept system actually figure out these hidden pain points at scale? And can we turn them into ideas that we know we can execute on, because we have a generative system for creating ideas and we have a generative system for de-risking ideas from the formulation side, right? How can we have both of these pillars end to end to go from, here's a user pain point, any product, whether it's a tech product, a food product, a CPG product, needs to solve a fundamental pain point, in my opinion. Here are the factors that we need to consider, from cost, risk, launch. Can an AI system ingest all this sort of unstructured data and help with the decision making through and through to actually get that product out into the market? So that's what we're ended up building across Notco.
We frequently hear from the CPGs or the side, the marketing side or the innovation side, that they hold a lot of data about consumers, and that their decisions of innovation are based on those trends that they see in this maybe Nielsen, Mintel data. Like, how is our system working differently? Like, I want to get to the source of, like, how do you really make sure that when you design and launch a product, that product talks to the right people in the right tone of voice, not only with the right concept, but also with the right formulation. And again, how do you decide which product to launch, not based on a trend, but based on a white space? Because there's so many frequent launches of new products that are based on trends, And obviously the AI and the tools that you have today are actually very good at identifying trends. But how does the Notco or our AI or how could potentially Gen AI help, like, do this way better?
And we were talking just yesterday to a CMO, huge company. He's like, I don't trust trends. He's been in the industry for 30 years. He's like, you can look at all the trends you want. And I remember because we were showing him the concept quant system yesterday. And he came in immediately, was like, if this thing is just looking at trends, like all these other pieces of software are doing, I don't care. Like everyone's doing it. It doesn't translate into a product success. It doesn't translate into people actually buying the product, purchase intent. And we explained to him, once again, it's not about just generation, it's about discernment. So what we decided to do at Notco is, we have a concept system. It generates ideas based on these pain points that we do social scraping on and stuff like that. But in addition to that, we have, as a CPG and other CPGs we work with, there's a bunch of just consumer data within these organizations that they don't know what to do with, right?
Yeah.
They don't know how to analyze it. And this is where, more than generative AI, LLMs come in, large language models, where you can take highly unstructured data, put it through this kind of specialized data funnel, and help you create better ideas that are more specific to what you know your consumer wants, needs, and understands. So there's that aspect of generation. Now, when we talk about discernment, the idea that's kind of been, we've been brooding this for a couple of years now, and I think it's finally coming to fruition because we finally have the data on it, is how do you create a digital twin of whatever you're trying to launch, the consumer, right? And I think this is also an overhyped term. What is a digital twin? And at the end of the day, it's, I have an idea. Can I make a prediction on how the consumer would react in terms of purchase intent, repeat purchases, and net promoter score? Can I predict these attributes from the consumer information I have? So our upstream generation system is generation from this concept quant and discernment from a consumer digital twin. And if you put those two systems together, you can generate just a bunch of different ideas and concepts coming from what your consumer is wanting. And then you can discern, based on how your digital twin is predicting outcomes, where you should sort of focus your pinpoint your efforts to actually, put $1 million behind, $10 million behind to actually launch this product into the market and de-risk it end to end. And from there, we're doing a lot more things that I think are interesting, about, there's all these things. I don't know how technical we should get, but
super. Let's go.
I mean, purchase intent is not just a point metric that you predict. There's a lot of variability around purchase intent for different consumers. Once again, when we were talking to the CMO, it was really funny from his experience. He was like, if you were looking at purchase intent, where would he say? Norway?
Yeah.
He's like, you can trust that prediction. If you're looking at a purchase intent, I'm going to get canceled. In Spain, he's like, no, everyone is too nice. When they say, like, are you going to buy this product? They all say because they don't want to offend you.
Yeah.
But then their actions don't line up with their with what they say.
Yeah.
And so when we talk once again about a digital twin of a consumer, and discernment, it's really about how do we, not just ask using like focus groups and surveys, because that's kind of a biased environment to get this data from. It's how can we actually understand more fundamentally how consumers behave in kind of their natural habitat. That sounds kind of scary, like surveillance, but take a digital ad out of a concept. Do people click through the ad? Do they engage with the web page? Can we put tooling on that to understand click-through is a proxy of purchase intent? And how can we break down purchase intent from a perspective of liking scores? What are the predicted likings of the concepts? How much the pain points resonate? The positioning of the concept itself? The demographics we're going for? So we're building a lot of net new AI systems in figuring out discernment, because I think that is what we want to focus on. And the generation part can generate 1 million billion different ideas. It's really about focusing in on what is going to make the impact at the end of the day.
That is fascinating. Because this is exactly like university versus reality. No, university always teaches you a perfect world where, theory applies very well. No. But in reality, is you get to your job and it's totally different. Like when you go to focus group, people lie. So how much you can trust data as well, no? And which data to trust. So what you say in terms of like surveillance and the natural habitat, and we were joking around a little bit about this kind of like also believing in polls right now, like politics, no? Who do you vote for? There's a public punishment. Really, if you want to vote for, one, side or the other, they all lie. And the gaps of polling versus the reality of when they vote is getting higher and higher and higher. So it's a human element that when you're, kind of like creating AI tools, you need to consider for. Because otherwise that data is not really very useful. No, you're going to commit exactly the same mistakes that others are committing. No, so you compound on, not very good data. No, so I think that's an excellent point. Maybe it's not a Gen AI point, but maybe it is. No.
I think the question is how do you use generative AI, Gen AI, to actually make decisions? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think when the stakes are higher, unlike, because we're talking about products, right? Products that are going to be launched across a whole country, a whole geographic region, that takes a lot of capital, a lot of resources sometimes.
Yeah.
So when you're using these sort of systems to make decisions like that, you do need to think about it more holistically rather than just, oh, hey, the generative AI system said I should do this, and therefore I'm going to do it. It's like, no, you should you should figure out how systems can play together to de-risk the decision making. And so, even in our formulation systems, we always had aspects like this where we can generate a million different ideas, especially with the pineapple and cabbage example from the very first days on our formulation systems. We can generate almost an infinite amount of formulations or ingredients and surface them up. But the chef can only make 5 in a day. So how do you go from 1 million to 5? There's this layer of discernment that you need in your system that goes from ideation to here's an actionable set of sequences that you should take in order to actually achieve your desired outcome. So you got to be impact and outcome focused and then kind of work backwards to figure out how do I de-risk this?
Yeah.
And then what other tools can I plug in kind of latter half of the generation step that makes this kind of real?
Yeah.
And we can embed our company culture around making decisions this way.
That's very cool because then the question would be like, there is a very clear way in which we are using Gen AI, but how do you see Gen AI really transforming other industries, companies? Where do you see the future coming?
Yeah, so it's all agents. Do you know what an agent is?
No, I mean, Agent Smith from Matrix is
exactly.
the closest
this is what we're going to talk about.
Okay, yeah.
No, so generative AI, you break it down into a lot of different things. Fundamentally, what everyone knows are large language models, transformer networks. We'll talk to when we talk about our formulation stuff, and then there's things called RAG, retrieve, augment, and generate.
Okay.
And then there's agents. And I'll kind of connect the dots. Hopefully, I won't confuse too many people.
No.
But the idea here is because these large language models, they just ingest natural language text. It unlocks the ability for just anybody to do very complex set of actions. And the agent is the system that basically turns natural language intent using a large language model into action. And I went to a talk a few weeks ago here in San Francisco. I'm going to just name drop the company, Devin.ai.
Okay.
Amazing kind of idea, which is we're going to create a foundational machine learning model, an LLM, on software, on code. And we're basically going to have an agent where you can just tell it to do something you would tell your software engineer to do, and it'll go do it. Because it has connection to a web browser, it has connection to your data cloud and your warehouse. And it was just the examples they were giving were kind of insane, which is, I was kind of scared for my own job, which was, hey, Devin, go create a new database on our Google Cloud instance. And this is how much memory we need, blah, blah, blah. And it just does it because it understands intent. It has sort of tools that interact with different systems to make actions in the world. And then it can just go do these tasks on its own. So an agent is basically something that you're delegating tasks to. So as we start looking into the world of CPG and food, we're starting to build new agents that really sit on the interface of CPG and supply chain. Because we see a lot of friction between CPG companies and suppliers as well. Right now, it's really human to human.
Yeah.
Sales and back and forth, and we're just sitting in these meetings about learning about new technologies and ingredients. Could you really have an assistant where just natural language, you can type to it as a product developer, and it goes scouts out all the competitor products for you and brings that back in and summarizes everything you need to know? Can it go scout out a bunch of novel ingredients that you never knew? You would have to spend hours and hours of researching all these different new ingredients, goes out, scouts all these ingredients for you, figures out and breaks it down into a report and get it back to you. So there's this more fundamental thing where I think is you can go from intent of whatever you're trying to do to action, where that action needed to be a human-based mechanism. Someone had to go and do that work. That work can now be done in minutes or less with this agent framework. So we're really building this out now. We're testing it across different supply chains, our own CPG with some suppliers that we have, to see what that world looks like. And the last point there, I think, is data science as well. So when we were building the AI tech platform at Notco, we initially had this idea that we were going to have a lot of data scientists be embedded in a lot of different CPG product roadmaps across the company. So there would be one data scientist that working on milk and one data scientist for whatever, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't scale, right? Because you need so many data scientists if you want to do like 50 different projects. So we started experimenting just 3 months ago, which is, hey, we already know that all these different product developers and scientists just have all these CSV files just sitting around. They don't know what to do with them. Could we make an AI data scientist? And it's funny, we're going to have a whole campaign called Fire Pras, which is our Stanford engineer who's automating himself right now.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, Pras, what is everything that you do for a project?
Yeah.
Can we figure out if we can turn you into an agent, essentially, where the food developer or scientist can just upload their CSV data or whatever it is. You ask it in natural language, hey, what are the main factors driving whatever the likability score of this product? And instead of needing a data scientist to go build a small machine learning model and clean up the data and all this stuff, it just goes from intent to action to insight seamlessly. And if you can embed this sort of agent in every single R&D workflow, what does that unlock, right? You need less data scientist and communication gap between the world of food or whatever your specific domain is to data science and machine learning. And that's the vision. And that's actually what we're building out now today, which is I can now have my food developer have all the shelf life data. They want to get some insights from their shelf life data. They don't know what to do. Can you just drag your unstructured data into our system, say, hey, I want to build this, and it takes an action of steps. It starts running code to generate whatever you're trying to do in terms of actionable insights deriving from actual machine learning software without having the data scientist in the loop. How do we enable people to learn from what they're trying to do? So an agent-based architecture is where we're moving a lot of our tech towards.
So first is the scariest shit. No, it's super scary. I mean, we were talking about digital twins. Now, literally, we are going to be able to actually generate a Matthias twin or an Adit twin. How far away are we from that?
I think there's companies doing this.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
I mean, wouldn't that help you delegate better? So if there was a Matthias agent.
I think in my mind, I'm too of a micromanager to actually enjoy having an agent, to be honest. And there are some, I think, practical decisions that are more, I don't know, it requires a little bit more emotion than, but I don't know. Maybe it's my bias today that I don't know what a real agent can do. So it's literally kind of like everyone in companies will become like a cyborg or at one point, or
I don't think it's a cyborg. I think I think it's scary if you're not in the industry, like kind of looking into it, and you can have all these sort of sci-fi doomsday scenario.
Yeah.
I think the folks that are in the AI industry actually embrace it. Right. For Pras, for example, he's he's a really smart dude. He has 2 degrees from Stanford.
Yeah.
All he wants to work on is protein engineering research, like really core science research.
Yeah.
Don't really know what the ROI is on that,
Yeah.
But if he could make a twin of himself that could do his day job, and that can still make money in terms of adding ROI to all these sort of products that we want to launch.
Yeah.
And there's an agent of Pras.
Yeah.
He can focus his time and efforts and his experience on things that he actually wants to do. Yeah. And that's what, I told him, like, if you can make an agent of yourself, a Stanford data science agent, you can work on whatever you want for the rest of the year. And so he's up for the task. He's going to build it.
It's crazy because this kind of like messes up everything we know about actually kind of like, I don't know, day-to-day work, because maybe even if you leave a company, you're still there, no? Which is pretty fucking scary.
Yeah,
or exciting at the same time, no? Like cloning yourself in many ways can keep you in the system at the same time.
So
for longer.
Those.
So there's gonna be an edit. For example, let's sci-fi. A little bit this.
You're going to
thing.
Sci-fi, and I'm going to give you an example from like a 90s movie. But
okay.
Let's go ahead.
I don't believe in the dystopic kind of like way of looking at AI. No, I really think that everything we're going to do and we going to end up doing is very favorable for humanity. I really think so. Now, imagine you, again, we're physical entities. We're going to die. We're all going to die. So, at one point, right? I don't know, maybe someone out there creates the magical pill and you. But I think that's going to happen. But let's stay away from that topic. Let's say we are 100, 120 years old. We die, right? We pass away. Is it a possibility that you're basically alive within different entities and companies out there?
Actually, probably, yeah.
Fucking Jesus.
I'm sure there needs to be some regulation on that. But the way that I think about it,
like if you're dead, your agents are dead as well?
yeah,
Something like
there has
that?
to be something like that. I mean, I think we're actually closer to trying to need regulation for that, from governments. But the way that I see it, and I think a lot of other folks see it, is those '90s movies where I don't know. In the '90s, there's a lot of movies about twins.
Yeah.
And then like they were long lost twins, and they find each other, and then
Yeah.
they can just swap places all the time.
True.
And so there's like
tests, like your
yeah, and there's some movies like where one twin has to go to school and the other twin gets to like go to the roller coaster all day.
Exactly.
That's the way I think about it. Is like, what if my agent could go to work all day, right? What if my agent could be on this podcast, and then I don't have to spend time with you? I could go like I could be golfing right now or something. I could actually have a more human experience than just work. And I think that there's a vision there in order to unlock some sort of like economics in terms of like work actually being done.
Yeah.
Where people can still live more human lives, spend more time with their like things that fundamentally matter.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the vision for, I would say, most of these companies trying to do agent-based work is why do you want to waste your time researching all these ingredient suppliers? Wouldn't you want an agent? Why don't you want to delegate this? Do it in a minute, and then you can go home to your family and have dinner, in the park. This is the way we see it, and this is what I think it means to really have an AI-enabled workforce, and that's what we're trying to build at Notco. So there's this layer of we have AI, but I think there's this other layer of what you're kind of getting to is how do we create the first real human AI-enabled workforce inside the company from the ground up?
Yeah.
And I think that kind of resonate across different companies in Silicon Valley and beyond.
Man, it's such a entertaining topic to talk about and to imagine and to foresee. I still remember talking to one of these top 10 CPG companies in the world, talking about a very specific problem they had, that as they didn't have centralized their data, a lot of the data lived within the experience of employees.
Mm-hmm.
And in this moment in time, the lifespan of an employee, like a 20-year-old, 30-year-old employee, was 2.5 years. So that experience could only be capitalized for 2.5 years. And then when this employee went search for other challenges and went out, that experience was gone.
Yeah.
With the person that went out. This could really revolutionize that, no?
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't think you go all the way to this guy is going to work forever in the company with his agent, and
No.
he's never going to actually retire. He's going to retire and leave. But the work that he left, someone else is going to have to pick it up. If this guy in the CPG company you're talking about, I remember he's like, we have this one guy that's been at the company for 30 years. If we need to know anything about oil and fat systems for food, we just talk to this guy. We don't even do any research. We just talk to Jim, and he tells us. He's the agent. He's like, hey, give me an answer, and he gives you the answer. And they were like, what's going to happen when Jim retires, right? And so I think, once again, that's where the agent can help. It's not really about replacing people and jobs per se, but it's really about democratizing within a corporate framework data where today it's in silos. All this data is in a bunch of different silos in the organization. You can use agents to bring that all together. And one of our platforms called Formulate OS is exactly that vision. How do we create an agent-based architecture that enterprise can start using, and they themselves can start integrating different data sets into it to make it accessible to anybody, and then build machine learning models on it just by talking to it and add the sort of kind of enterprise value. So all new stuff, new unlocks just from this revolution of LLMs. But that's agents, I think, in a nutshell.
This is revolutionizing for the workforce. Literally, then could you rent an employee to other company? You know what I mean? Could you license an agent? Dude, this is literally building a new era of workforce.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have the answer to that. I'm the
No,
AI
no.
guy.
It was not a question. It's basically,
A
can
rhetoric,
we
yeah.
imagine something like that happening in the future?
I mean, it could be interesting. I mean, going back, you could be golfing all day, and you could be working at 5 different companies, making 5x your salary. Maybe who knows?
Amazing, amazing. It's definitely a topic that I didn't know we were going to head to at the beginning of the episode. But is there anything else we want to touch upon?
Yeah, it's this right here.
Talk about a little bit what we have here.
Yeah. Okay. So this was an interesting exercise for us at NotCo.
We're running out of time. We know.
We know.
This episode is particularly super interesting. So let's talk about this and then
So
we'll
we're
finish.
in our first episode. We were talking about flavors and fragrance in AI there.
Yeah.
One of the things we realized that things like ChatGPT can't do is it doesn't have access to things that are not essentially public internet, or maybe some of its partners like the New York Times, Reddit, etc. And same goes to when you're trying to create really specific formulation for real world products. I think the space that we operate in for CPG, everything is very secretive. Your IP is your formulation. And I think companies are very afraid to open that IP up at all to build generative models.
Yeah.
And this is what we wanted to go out and prove. So could we go to one of our partners, very secretive about their IP,
Yeah.
and actually create a generative model, learn from scratch, just purely on their IP, and essentially create value. And so that's what we ended up doing here, which I think was interesting. We worked with a flavor and fragrance house, kind of pitched them why generative AI would help them unlock a lot of new value. And they opened up. They said, okay, you guys can come into our facility. You can install your server here. You can be in our cloud. We're never going to give you the data on your cloud, NotCo.
Yeah.
But you guys, we can invite you here. And we did it end to end. We put GPUs in there, NVIDIA GPUs in there, and we started training this new generative model on composing formulations of fragrances.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing is going from natural language, like you would in ChatGPT, ask a question, it gives you a response. Here, what we're doing is going from natural language, describing what you want something to smell like, and it actually within seconds coming up with 1,000 different formulations that actually work. Everyone, actually including me, super skeptical that this would happen, but we put a lot of validations across the way, and we basically did a human versus AI validation,
Yeah.
blind. Which one of these was created with generative AI, one-shot solution? Which one of these was created from a human master perfumist?
Yeah.
Right?
But let's stop there because we assume that everybody knows what a master perfumist is. Can you tell us a little bit what it is?
Yeah, master perfume. Any perfume you smell, whether
Yeah.
that's like Chanel No. 5,
Yeah.
or whether it's something in laundry detergent, there's a smell that comes from it.
Yeah.
And perfume and fragrance, it's an art. People say it's an art. You need some master composer of all these molecules. These molecules all smell individually like different things, but then as soon as you combine them together, they give this sort of effect to you. Some smells are calming, some smells make you nostalgic, and fragrance is like a huge, there's this research, right? Like fragrance helps you remind, it's like the best
Yeah.
trigger for memory or something like that.
Uh-huh.
So there's all these different attributes of fragrance that I think kind of go undiscovered about how powerful it is. And when you look at every single CPG product, food or not food, where flavor and fragrance actually plays a role, it's huge, right? So these master perfumists are the ones that have usually a chemistry background, but they know how to compose these formulations on molecules to actually create these fragrances that you can put into products at the end of the day.
Got it. So basically, they're chemists that know the art of compounding molecules together to generate certain aromas that generate certain emotions.
Exactly.
Trained for 40 years.
Trained for, a lot of them are in the industry for a very long time, and
Yeah.
there's not a lot of them out there.
Got it. And we're basically challenging that and saying that Gen AI can really, because for someone that has been a master perfumist, no, I feel that for them they're gonna be very skeptical, no, like a machine cannot learn the art of what I do.
Yep.
Why can't we challenge that?
Yeah, we got challenged since the very beginning from perfumists. We've seen so many AI technologies come through. We've been around. Nothing has ever worked. It's very nonlinear. There's one formulation will have over 200 molecules. Every strawberry flavor is different compositionally. It's like, okay, challenge accepted.
Yeah.
Let's see. Like, can we, our ethos is why not? Let's try it out and see. So yeah, I think there's a lot of skepticism about doing it, but once we were talking earlier about aligning economic interests with companies and partners, we're not just doing AI for the sake of doing AI.
Yeah.
We explained to them, if we can make these sort of foundational models using, we're building transformer networks, we're tokenizing molecules instead of words. I'm sure some people know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
To create these new transformer networks on formulations. This is the impact that it can have on your company, right? You can have one master perfumist be able to service 10 more customers than what you had before, right? You can basically delegate work, as we were talking about, to get more business or increase your win rates or whatever. So they saw this potential, and they were still skeptical, but we ended up doing it. And so, long story short, we did a validation. How do we know that your AI works?
Yeah.
Okay, let's give a prompt.
Yeah.
and then we'll generate all these flavors. And then the perfumist will also create flavors. And then let's see which one you think came from the AI, which one came from the human.
Yeah.
Long story short, it's 50-50. You can't tell, which is exactly where we want to be.
Yeah.
So we have 2 perfumes here. I was wondering if you want me to read the prompt.
You go ahead, read it. I'll be smelling.
All right. So let's see. Sample M, I think. By the way, the prompt was from the partner. We didn't make this prompt up. This is what they were like. We want to create a
So
perfume.
the perfumist did this, or someone in the company?
Yeah, I think someone from our partner was like, this is the prompt that we want you guys to use to create this perfume.
Okay.
All right.
Ready?
I'm going to say this like very sensually.
Okay.
From the moment the liquid soap from a fruity flora family touches your skin, the top notes envelop you with refreshing and tropical explosion of pineapple, apple, banana, and pineapple peel. This juicy and vibrant combination awakens the senses, evoking the warmth of a sunny day on a paradisical beach.
That's it?
There's more, but I'm not going to.
Okay.
I think people will end the podcast.
Should I feel exactly that?
Maybe, yeah. I want to get your feedback on it.
Well, man. I mean, just the realization of that being transformed into this,
Yeah.
while having some nuance of what you read. I obviously don't remember every single, but it's pretty insane. It's pretty insane. You smell it, things that are there,
Yeah.
and just like the nuance of a machine creating this, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's one shot too. And what that means is just the first.
There's
thing
no
that
iteration.
There's no iterations. The system
Yeah.
just spat it out, ingredients and the quantities. There you go.
Give me the second.
Second one, a woman's perfume fragrance from the fruity floral gourmand family is a masterpiece of sophistication and sensuality. From the very first moment, the top notes of black currants and pear envelop you with a juicy and sparkling freshness, like a sip of a fruity cocktail on a summer day. I'm actually curious, like, why this would be a woman's perfume, but okay. The vibrant combination awakens your senses and fills you with energy and vitality.
This smells. I guess I don't know what I'm expected to smell, but
Would you buy that for your mom for Mother's Day?
for my mom, yes. My girlfriend probably not. It's more of a older.
I think that's what this was going for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is it?
Well, I mean, yeah. It's a very sort of feminine blend, evokes the image of a garden in full bloom. It's about beauty, yeah, where the beauty and grace of flowers surround you,
Yeah.
offering a sense of serenity and charm.
I'd say my grandma.
Your grandmother.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
say my grandma.
But this is what I think is really interesting. Like, you can just go with description. Can you describe your grandmother kind of with these senses and generate something,
Like-
custom for your mom, your grandma, your girlfriend,
It's
your
insane.
brother, your
It's
dad.
insane. No,
Yeah.
it's insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane that after all we talked about and the sci-fi, we end up with also kind of like the nuance of AI generating very
Creative.
physical
Yeah.
things. You can taste it, you can test it, you can. So I don't know, pretty insane. I love this episode. I don't know about you, but
I love it too.
this one really kind of like threw me off. That wasn't a script. I think it's important to say that we don't have a very defined script.
No.
We go wherever the conversation is going, and I think we ended up talking about very cool stuff.
Exactly.
Very cool stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you, Arit, again. Episode 3, my favorite
So far.
so far.
Thank you.